Hello friends, today we're going to be talking about how to make $5,000 to $15,000 flipping real estate contracts. Have you ever wondered if you could make $5,000 to $15,000 in real estate? Well, by the time we finish this video, I will unlock a systematic approach to identify, secure, negotiate, and flip real estate contracts to make money right now. You're gonna learn how to navigate the market, connect with motivated sellers, and find buyers to secure those deals to boost your real estate portfolio. Have you ever thought about making money in real estate without having to hold properties physically? If you have, flipping real estate contracts might be your golden ticket. As we dive into this, I want to first explain what flipping real estate contracts mean. Next, I will help you understand how to navigate that market. And finally, I'll break down one of the most important elements when it comes to real estate contract flipping. If you are ready, let's go. So what does it mean to flip a real estate contract? First off, to make sure that we're all on the same page, a real estate contract is a 10 to 12, maybe longer page document that details out all the specifics of what the buyer is getting and what the seller is selling when it comes to price, when the close date is, and many other stipulations within that real estate contract. But also within that real estate contract are other things like fixtures and furnitures that the seller is willing to include with the property, home inspection, date of closing, and many other things. Now, in order to flip a real estate contract, all of those things have to be agreed upon and everything has to be signed. And there might be multiple addendums associated with this contract, but if every addendum is signed and the contract is signed, you are then in a position to flip that contract. But one important element when it comes to flipping real estate contracts is having the right verbiage in there, right? Because typically when somebody buys a piece of property, if my name's Aaron Peterson and I go buy a piece of property and I get that property under contract under the name of Aaron Peterson, who then can finalize on the closing of that property as a buyer of that property? Well, it's Aaron Peterson. Verbiage needs to state within that contract that it needs to sound like this. It needs to be exactly like this. Aaron Peterson and or assigns. So that means that the end, I can change the name from Aaron Peterson to somebody else, or I can assign that contract to somebody else. Now, I do that in every single real estate contract that I will ever sign, and this is why. Number one, in case I want to flip that contract. But number two, many times I will assign that contract out of my name personally into one of the LLCs that I hold. And an LLC is an important document for real estate investors in the fact that it limits your liability from your personal assets. Now, if you're buying a rental property or another piece of property, that property in and of itself could potentially have liability if it has people visiting it or tenants staying there. And if something were to happen, you don't want that to be attached to your personal assets. So an LLC, a limited liability company, limits the liability between that asset and your property because the property is held in this LLC and it's recorded by the title company and everything else that you own is in your own name or maybe another LLC. But that needs to be done and or assigns, whether you're assigning it to your LLC or flipping the contract. Now, a fun part about this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got started in real estate doing just this and how I made over $15,000, but I kind of lucked into it, but it's a really interesting story. Now, when I first got started in real estate, my partners and I had started a company and we started to see this company start to take off. So we had a little bit of money and we said, listen, we want to invest in real estate. We know it's good. We know that's how a lot of people build wealth. So I started looking in an area that I was very familiar with and I found some fourplexes. And I thought, man, it'd be awesome to own one or two, maybe four fourplexes in this area because I know this city is going to grow. They just changed from a junior college to a 4-year university. And I knew that there was going to be growth there. And it was in a great location. I went to the seller. I saw the ad in a newspaper. That tells you about how long ago this was, somewhere between 20, 22 years ago. And I went to the seller and said, listen, I want to buy maybe 4 fourplexes. And they said, well, if we can give you a good price, would you be willing to buy 8? And I said, yes. Long story short, they were listed at $275. I had 8 under contract for $255,000. So $20,000 off per fourplex. Went to my partners and they had money as well. They said, yes, let's do it. That sounds exciting. We can't wait to close on these properties. I went back to the seller. Seller said, listen, we have a problem. We need to sell the whole spine, which a spine had 7 on one side, 7 on another side. They said, but if you buy 14 of these fourplexes, we'll give them to you for an additional $12,000 off what we had originally had you under contract for before. So $243,000. Without even thinking or asking, I said, yes, let's do it. 14 fourplexes under contract for $243,000. I'd already had somebody looking into the financing of it. But when I went back to my partners, they said, listen, we're only going to buy 8. 14 is way too much. And so I was in a dilemma. Luckily, and this is where the luck comes in, there was a gentleman who I knew very well who worked in the office below me. He knew our organization, our company. We actually worked together a little bit. And he said, listen, I hear you're buying 4plexes up in that city. I'd be interested in buying 4 of them. And I said, rather than I can put you in contact with the seller, I actually have some under contract that I can just assign over to you, and I've got them at a good price. But it has to be 6 of them. The next day he came back and said, yep, I'll take all 6 because I was going to assign it to him at $255,000. He was ecstatic because he was getting them for $20,000 below what they were retailed at. And I was ecstatic because I was assigning the contract to him from $243,000 to $255,000. So I made $12,000 per 4plex by assigning that contract to him, or $72,000 without any money out of my own pocket in very little time. Now, luck played a big portion of that, but it was one of the funnest things I had ever done in real estate. And it was really neat that that's one of the ways I got started in real estate. I then utilized that money to buy a couple of lots in Island Park that ended up going very well for me and appreciating in value. So this idea of flipping real estate contracts isn't anything that's new, and it's not impossible to think that you could make $5,000 to $15,000 flipping real estate contracts. And you can do that with little to no money out of your pocket. If you are new, getting started, you don't have money, this is what you need to do to get started. However, it is the type of market that needs to be understood. So let's spend a few minutes talking about that. So the most important thing if you are going to flip real estate contracts is what? It's the price, right? You've got to make sure that you get them at a good price, right? Whatever it's listed for, you've got to get it significantly below that so you have the ability to turn around and flip that contract. And that all happens in the negotiation. If you see a property, and you might put an offer on multiple properties and not have anybody respond, but the one time you do, if you're listing it, say maybe 10, 15, 20% below what they're asking, and that gets accepted or close to what you're saying you're willing to pay for that property, that's one that you can turn around and flip. There is an organization that I know very well. I've known these individuals for almost a decade, and they started out very small, but right now they are one of the largest organizations right now when it comes to wholesaling or flipping real estate contracts out there. I'm on their email list and their text list, and I probably see 2 or 3 of these come across my phone or my desk every single day where they say, we've got the property under contract and we're willing to let it go at this price. Now, if they execute on those every single day, 3 of them, and I bet they're making $20,000, $30,000 per contract, they are doing extremely well every single day in the real estate market without having to put money out to purchase these properties. And a couple of those organizations out there, the one that I mentioned, Joe Homebuyer, extremely popular, starting to franchise. They're a great organization, great leadership. And another one, you've probably seen the signs on the road when you've driven by. They're just little signs in the grass that say, we buy ugly homes, right? And I know they're franchised throughout the United States, but they do exactly that as well. And they're willing to buy homes by getting them under contract really low and turn around and flip that contract to somebody else. Now, as we finish up this video, I will cover the last thing that's really important. It's being able to find buyers, right? You've done all that work. You've identified a property. You've got it under contract and or assigns at a very low price. You just need to find somebody who's willing to buy that contract from you that you can flip that contract to that can then execute. But that's no easy task. So how do you do that? Number one, you have to build a buyer's list. This can be done just by taking people's information, names, emails, phone numbers of people that are interested in real estate, maybe people who sell real estate. Anybody in that real estate world could be a candidate because if they're not the person, maybe they know somebody who is. And that does take time. And it's something that you're probably not going to see the benefits from overnight or maybe even a month from now or 6 months from now. But over a year, 2, 3 years, if you have a nice buyer's list, that's eventually going to pay off. Now, the other way that you can actually start doing right now, this is why making $5,000 to $15,000 isn't impossible in this strategy, because once you have it under contract and or assigned, you can do what many people are doing right now. Go to Facebook Marketplace and join some of these real estate Facebook groups that have people that are buying and selling real estate all the time. And I see this every single day when I log onto Facebook, where people are actually saying, listen, I've got this property under contract. I'm willing to let it go at this price. Here's the terms. Here's what you need to know. And there are multiple comments, multiple hand raisers of people saying that they're interested. And that is something that you can do right now with little to no experience. So many years ago, we actually had this happen where I was on the receiving end of an email on a property that was in Heber City, close to Park City, and it looked like a good price. And so my partners and I decided, let's go ahead and try and get this property. For whatever reason, it ended up not happening. And I'm really bummed it didn't, because the price we would have got it for, even though somebody was flipping the contract to us, a lot of the property values appreciated over the last 4 or 5 years. we would have been in an amazing position to make some good profit. I've seen both sides of it. I've seen where I've assigned contracts. I've seen the side where I've wanted to buy the assignment of that contract, and either way it can work. And this is absolutely a great strategy for making $5,000 to $15,000 right now with little investment, little experience. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What have you seen when it comes to flipping real estate contracts? Comment, let's have a discussion, engage in a dialogue. And as always, just for stopping by and watching this video, I've got a free gift for you. It's aaronsfreetraining.com. It is a short-term rental calculator. You put in the purchase price, the income, the expenses. It'll spit out to you whether it's a good deal or not. 100% free, no obligation. And once again, thanks for stopping by. Have an amazing day.